Welcome back to yet another adventure by the campfire. Today we will follow the Evensong adventurers as they take on the villainous cult of the deep. But before we delve into their machinations, let us introduce our cast once more. The first of our grand adventurers is the one-time scoundrel and investigator Dexter Darkfang. Fully equipped in his top hat and monocle, cane rapier clacking at his side, and grizzly grey beard falling down his waistcoat. The next of our quintet is the ever-mysterious Delphine the Black, who ponders into much gothic fanfiction as a daytime pleasure, while she conjures up magical solutions to mundane problems through her divine ancestors. The third is the stalwart warrior Octavia, an ex-sergeant of the Auvergnian military with a grizzled outlook on life. The bells in her cornrows jangle on her plate mail musically as she walks. Next is the splendid acrobat Astrid Evensong, complete with an array of fantastical costumes that support her wooden prosthetic legs well during her aerial performances and all manner of somersaults. Finally, we have Octavia's colour sergeant, the bespectacled veteran Deus, who wonders if his mysterious doppelganger, who can call lightning from his fingertips, is perhaps his future self coming to stop him from his many poor decisions. To make a quick recap of things, the party recently stole a magical puzzle box containing a mysterious pack of cards from the Cult of the Deep, and promptly threw the cult into the sewers where they came knocking on their door. Now, sitting in the tattered and well-worn guild hall, the group were playing some more card games nonchalantly, but Deus, almost feverish from his last encounter, went to his room, pushing past stacks of books in all directions to finally take a seat by his desk. He started to tap, 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 as he thought of all manner of conspiracies and plans. "Eureka!" he cried, coming to a conclusion he was satisfied with. Flipping through book by book, trying to locate every single scrap of information he could on time travel, he managed to find a few helpful extracts, and leapt from the guild at a breakneck pace, struggling not to topple the stacks of books in his hands as he ran. Eventually, he found himself at the residence of Jim Bob Kettledrum, an incredibly senile old enchanter who lived inside a narrow tower with moss creeping up on all sides. After banging on the knocker multiple times, he yelped as a trapdoor opened beneath his feet and he slid down a long, slippery slide, finding himself in a cage suspended above a fish tank containing a rather large and hungry shark swimming beneath, accompanied by the maniacal laughter as the old coot as he fell. As the stooge approached from a winding staircase to his right, laughing as he walked, he turned to face Deus, his hand resting behind a pair of levers. The wizard pulled on his scraggly white hair and clacked his teeth before asking, "And who might you be who dares come to the tower of mighty Jim Bob the Mad?" "I thought it was Jim Bob the Bad," Deus asked.
Yes, well, it was. But times have changed, you see. So have I. You still didn't answer my question."
He tottered. Deus looked at him through his spectacles, then down at the hungry shark below, sensing his answer's consequences. "I'm Deus, former colour sergeant of the Auvergnian army, and a member of the Evensong questing guild." The wizard paused in thought.
"Perhaps you can tell me, adventurer, why you wish to sully my horse with your presence. I do not take kindly to visitors these days.
I meant no harm. I had just heard of your greatness, and after reading all of these books, I realize I must ask you to take me on as your student. Deus begged.
And why should I do that?
Because I fear that if I do not learn the secrets of time travel and all manner of magic, then my future self, who has come to our aid on many occasions, may cease to exist, and mine and many others' existences would be in doubt.
That is quite the conundrum you have there.
Jim Bob smirked.
But unfortunately for you, the use of chronomancy has been outlawed by the Geneva Convention.
I am aware of the risks, but I'm left with no other choice.
You, sir, are mad.
So are you. The wizard smiled broadly.
I like your style.
He pulled the lever on the right, and Deus found the cage opened, and a stairway folded out magically into place. Deus skeptically walked down to meet the wizard face to face.
I do hope you have a lot of money, son, because I am completely broke. Now tell me more of this future self of yours. After all, we cannot afford to disrupt the time continuum. It must all be written down.
Jim Bob laughed. Deus pushed his books onto Jim Bob and forked out a pouch of coin as he told him everything of their adventures so far, and they pondered together for hours on end about how to teach him magic. Meanwhile, the rest of the party had decided to go for a walk downtown. It wasn't on purpose, but as most discoveries with the Evensong Guild tend to be, a happy accident that builders were doing sewage works in the middle of town. And Astrid, as clumsy as she is, managed to catch herself on a removed manhole, fell down into some splits before her grip faded, and with a yelp she crashed down into the dingy-smelling water below. Looking down at the now drenched Astrid, the group sniggered at her. But then she saw a flickering light in the depths. She took tentative step by tentative step through the murk, trying not to slip and fall. The others nervously followed. Dexter came first, then Octavia, with Delphine complaining that the stench would ruin their dress, before finally being coaxed down into the sewers herself. Following the strange flickering light onwards through twisting passages left, right, and center, they soon found themselves hearing a dull chant echoing in the passages below. Delphine flicked her hand to her side, catching it on a card, causing a little paper cut. She wiped her hand on the card and tucked it on her belt absent-mindedly. They tiptoed closer, seeing the shadow of the great beast emerge from the flickering flames ahead. It was a terrifying, colossal, mortifyingly scary sheep. Actually, it was just a regular sheep. Or was it? Astrid attempted to befriend it through a series of bleats that left everyone rather confused, and then the sheep wandered off, looking for something smelling the air. And Derek was the only one to notice the true evil that the sheep really possessed. Letting the sheep pass, they stumbled full on into a circle of cultists chanting over a magical circle. They turned and stared as a whirlpool started to form below. Out from the depths of this circle formed a powerful eldritch entity, a gigantic squid-like being, pulling itself through one tentacle at a time. Astrid stepped back, scared. Octavia, standing in front of her, sword to hand.
"Worry not. I'll protect you,"
she called. The tentacle struck out at a cultist with shocking precision and pulled them through the vortex, screaming, while the others continued chanting unflinchingly. As they reached their crescendo, the floor seemed to fall apart as a gigantic spined mouth came open. One by one, the cultists fell to their doom into the void below, tripping and falling, or being snapped up by the flying tentacles. Delphine ran straight out the cavern into the tunnel, thinking there was no way to defeat this titanic monstrosity. She stopped, seeing the shape of the sheep again, and faltered as it turned, looking straight at her, its eyes blood red and smoke rising from its nostrils. Octavia charged as a tentacle came, swinging wildly at them, cutting it open as it got close. Dexter prodded and poked at it with his cane rapier, and Astrid kicked it backwards. But the mouth kept growing, the floor receding further as it seemed to consume it entirely. The trio backed up against it. Then Dexter slipped and started to fall. Octavia reached out, and luckily her gauntleted fist caught his leg as he tumbled. But the floor cracked open more, and Octavia found herself being pulled down too. She screamed out for help.
"Astrid, I'm falling!"
And quick as lightning, the performer grabbed her, anchoring on the last ledge of rock left. This was the end. Deus was nowhere to be found. Delphine had run away, and they were going to fall into this creature's mouth. Its tentacle lashed out and grabbed Dexter by the torso, pulling him and Octavia with him down. Astrid strained to hold on to them, her grip fading when the unthinkable happened. They fell. Deuce emerged from the ledge above, longsword swinging down in an arc as he slashed right through the tentacle, breaking its grip. His arm then opened wide as he fell down below with them. The titanic kraken opens its mouth to receive its prey, but before it could, a web appeared before them, catching them in its sticky grasp. The beast roared as another tentacle rushed out to meet them. Delphine faced off against the sheep, keeping low to the ground. It stamped its feet and rushed out. Delphine never thought that she would ever in her years be scared of a sheep. But here she was now, terrified. She turned and ran, the bleating following her every step. She ran, and ran, and ran, and then there was suddenly no space to run any further. The kraken lay ahead and the sheep behind. She stood her ground, preparing a bolt of light or something else to deter the creature, but it dodged it and stormed through at her anyway. She stumbled backwards and fell, her deck of cards going flying just as the gigantic tentacle rushed out. It snatched a card and latched onto it, just as it was aiming for the others. It had a dungeon on its face. The card faded, and with a flash of light, everything stopped. The web fell, and the party crashed down to an empty, if slightly wet floor, and no deuce to be found. Above them lay the sheep, red eyes glowing. All the cards were gone with the fiend but one, snagged onto Delphine's belt, with a sluice of blood on its flamed surface, flames that filled the sheep's eyes above them. Derek, seeing it, screeched.
"My mortal foe, Miss Sutherland!
It has been too long since our last foray. Let us end this once and for all.
Smoke fell from its nostrils, and the sheep charged, jumping off the precipice. Astrid felt the hum of Derek pulling her forwards as she ran at it.
Hang on a minute!
Octavia cried, pushing Astrid to the ground. The sheep hit her shield, and she careened back. It rammed again and again at her.
Dexter, the rope!
She called, and Dexter reached into his backpack and pulled out a length, tossing it to Delphine. She grabbed it, pulled the noose as the sheep broke through Octavia's ducted shield, knocking her down. It turned to face Delphine, but she quickly pulled the rope over its neck and pulled a tight leash. It was caught for now. When Deus finally returned to the guild, eager to show everyone a cool spurt of electricity he could do with his fingertips, he found them all sat at a table with a sheep at their side on a leash. The sheep's red eyes were focused on Delphine, and Derek's eye was focused on the sheep.
Why is there a sheep here?
Deus asked.
This is Beth Sethalon, my pet. I call them Beth for short.
Octavia replied, feeding it a morsel. It begrudgingly accepted.
Okay then.
Deus replied and began to regale them of his day, unbeknownst to the adventure that they had all had. And so, we reach the end of yet another tale of the Evensong Questing Guild. I hope that you've enjoyed this story, and that I will see you again by the campfire next time.